On air. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So welcome everyone. My name is Brandi Young, and I'm an INFOhio iLibrarian. And what that means is it stands for Integration Librarian. So everyone has a focus at INFOhio, and mine is on digital literacy. And digital literacy encompasses many, many things, one of them being online testing. Angela said that I'm the expert. I'm not sure I'll go that far to say that. But I will make a disclaimer that ODE does not pay me, PARC does not pay me, AIR does not pay me. So the information that I have for you today is information that I've come across myself. I am privileged to belong to a group at ODE with their accessibility and accommodations group. So we send a lot of emails back and forth, so I do get information that way. My husband is also a principal as well, so I get a lot of information from him. So essentially, a lot of this just comes from me being a good researcher. I will preface everything by also saying that if I do not have an answer for you today for a question you have, anything and everything that I don't know the answer to, I will gladly research and find the answer for you. That's the nice thing about knowing someone at ODE, as I can always ask. Okay, unless there's any questions to start off, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Sound good?
Sounds
All right, so that should mean that you should be able to see my screen. Is that correct?
I just see you.
Okay. Sorry, I haven't done one of the live versions yet.
It's okay.
Where's my share my screen button?
It should be up at the top left, the second button.
Karen? Oh, there it is.
Screen share.
Yep. Yep. Sorry.
It's okay.
I just did this for Circleville. You would think that I would remember, but no.
Okay, now we see it. Yeah, we see it now.
Fabulous. All right. Okay.
Angela, can I ask if I have a question, do I just jump in?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, I am very laid back. The unfortunate part about sharing my screen is now I can't see anyone. So,
Okay.
yeah, just jump in. I will go ahead and say that my contact information is on this first slide. So if you do have questions for me later on, my email address is young@infohio.org. Just as a reminder, INFOhio has one O in the middle. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at young_librarian. So here we go. So right now we've got the next generation assessments. The reason that Ohio decided to call them the next generation assessments is because we signed on with PARC several years ago and we didn't have anyone to do the other half at that point in time. So we decided, eventually we signed on with AIR. We signed on with AIR about a year ago. So since we hadn't had someone to do the other half of the testing, we coined everything next generation assessments. So as I'm sure you all know by now, there are some characteristics to next generation assessments that are totally different from the paper pencil test. The first one is that they are delivered online. This year you do have the option to do a paper and pencil test. I believe that that option was closed down for you to make that decision in November. Most building principals or superintendents made that decision for their buildings. I will say that my knowledge is that eventually the paper and pencil test will go away. So eventually we will all be taking these online. So if Angela, if your district is already taking them online this year, then you guys are a step ahead. So that's good. They are interactive, so you've got the tech skills that we're going to talk about, such as drag and drop, highlight and scroll. They have a use of online manipulatives, such as a virtual protractor, a virtual ruler, and a virtual calculator. They have use of online simulations, a use of multimedia, such as audio, video, and multiple part questions. Now, online testing, or sorry, standardized testing has always had multiple part questions, but the catch with these next generation assessments are there is more than one correct answer. So the instructions tell you to look for the best answer. So that's the catch with the multiple part. So why do students need the tech skills? Students need to show mastery of the content rather than their technological ability. I think about back to middle school where I was forced to take a keyboarding class, which at that point in time I already knew how to keyboard. So I really wasn't learning anything new, but most schools did away with keyboarding. My district did when I was actually in high school. they got rid of keyboarding. And now with all of these online assessments, they're realizing, oh, we need keyboarding again. So the bummer about all of these tech skills is that they could negatively impact the student's scores, and it's not going to show an accurate measure of the student's growth and or knowledge if they're held up by, you know, a scroll within a scroll, so they don't know that there's another scroll bar on the test, for example. So what tech skills do students need? There are actually 16 different tech skills that students need. They're all featured here on this flyer, and what I will do, since this is a virtual presentation, I'll send Angela the PDF of this flyer. It's actually been redone a little bit from what you see here. The nice thing is that at the bottom right-hand corner, there's a QR code, and then there's a shortened bit.ly link, and the QR code and the shortened bit.ly link will actually take you to this Pearl tree that I've created that has resources to help you teach all the 16 different tech skills. So how can INFOhio help? INFOhio can help by helping you, well, we've created, as I mentioned, this Pearl tree. Do you guys know what a Pearl tree is? Have you heard of that before?
Nope.
No, okay. Good. So that's great. So have you heard of Pinterest?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Pinterest, Pearl tree, Scoopit, Symbaloo, all of those are just, they do the same thing. They're just digital curation sites. They just do things in a little different manner. So this is actually a screenshot of the Pearl tree. And as you can see, it's organized in boxes, much like Pinterest is organized in boxes. But they each have slightly different ways to do things and slightly different ways to add information. For example, a Pearl tree, it's really easy to add a flyer or a document right in to the Pearl tree without having to click on another step. So that's nice.
Oh.
I'm going to stop right here and talk technical requirements real quick. I can do an entire presentation on technical requirements, but it would take us about 3 hours to get through. And unless you are the testing coordinator or the tech coordinator for your building, it's not super important that you know these, but I will go ahead and those are the 2 links that you need to know for the technical requirements for the tests. Is your district taking the tests on iPads by chance?
No.
Okay.
We have regular desktops and Chromebooks.
Fabulous. I will say, if you do know of a district who is taking the test on an iPad, it is required by PARC that they have an external keyboard, because if you've ever used an iPad, you know that half the screen disappears when your keyboard comes up. So that's not really, you know, helpful for taking the test. As of yet, AIR has not required the keyboard, but it's probably coming. But those are 2 great sites. And I will also send Angela those links as well, and I'll show you where they are in the Pearl tree. That way, in case your tech coordinators don't ever see this presentation, you can say, hey, did you know about? But at this point, at this stage in the game, they pretty much know, I hope. Okay. Excuse me. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 6 of the 16 tech skills needed for online assessments. So the first thing I'm going to do is take you through those 6 skills in the actual testing environment, and then I'm going to show you the resources that INFOhio has to help teach those tech skills. So it's funny because when I was making this presentation, actually quite a while ago, several months ago in October, PARC actually had a completely different website. So right now there's 2 different websites out there for PARC. There's parkonline.org, which has a lot of helpful information and will eventually get you to the site that you see right now. But if you are just looking for a quick way to access the test prep, it is now park.pearson.org because Pearson bought out PARC, and you know all the way that loveliness works. So the first thing you're gonna do is go to that website, and then after that you will hang out here where the red arrow is, where it says test preparation. And then under test preparation, you'll have a drop-down menu where you've got 3 different choices. Sample items just goes through the different sample items from the actual test. So if you want a quick, fast overview, there it is. The Test Nav 8 tutorial, I will tell you that this area, the Test Nav 8 tutorial, goes through anything and everything you want to know about the test setup. So it teaches kids how to do forward and backward through the test questions. It also teaches them at the end, there's a way to look to see if you've actually answered all the questions, which is great. That way they don't have to go forward, 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 or backward, 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 30 times and waste time or get lost. So my recommendation is for every teacher to go into the TestNav 8 tutorial, get familiar with it themselves, and then if you have a projector and a projector screen in your room, show it to your students. When I was teaching high school English, it was still the OGT, which for some grades it still is. But I figured out after my first year of teaching and my kids didn't score so well on the writing part, I asked them why. And they said, well, you didn't tell us there were multiple choice. And I'm like, well, I thought you knew that. I mean, it's a common mistake that first year teachers make, So my second year of teaching, I went back through all the old tests. I gave them a timed essay that was from an old OGT, and I gave them that environment, that testing environment they would experience with the time limits. I figured if in 42 minutes they could write a 5-paragraph essay, then they could write three 5-paragraph essays and answer multiple choice in 2.5 hours. So again, that's my little soapbox, which is just to try to get the kids into it as much as possible, even if you have to do it as a whole class. But we're going to look at the practice test section. And under the practice test section, you have 2 choices, English, language, arts, and math, of course, because those are the PARCC tests. And today we are going to look at the English, language, arts first, because we're going to look at, I believe, how to use a video player. All right, so how to use a video player is actually under grade 9. And we'll pause real quick because I just realized that I left my not my script, but for lack of better words, I left my cheat sheet of what skill I'm covering when and what test. There we go. Sorry about that. I will also pause right here and say that something that they've recently built in with the last 2 months to each grade level on the PARCC only, is you have the option to look at the standard TestNav version and then the screen reader version, which since you're not doing iPads, you don't really need to know. But if you're not doing iPads, make sure you click the first one, the standard TestNav version, because that and the iPad test versions do look different. Right now, if you cannot actually score, a student cannot go in and get scores for their practice tests. You have to grade it against the generic rubrics, which I will be honest are pretty generic. So that is something that they are hoping to add in the spring to the online practice test, which is that it will grade it as it goes. Excuse me. So, oops, I'm sorry, we're going to look at the 4th grade test. My bad. So once you click any test that you want, you click on Start Test Now. And the language is so much like the OGT. Today you'll be taking a session of blah, 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 blah. And it's basically what, if you were ever a test proctor or a test administrator for the OGT or the OAA, it's the script that you read. But it's just now right here for the kids to read. Then you're going to, once you click Start Test Now, you're going to tell it to start section. Right now, the only test that has multiple sections is the math test, because there is a calculator section and a non-calculator section. So now we've got your video player. So you're probably thinking, gee, Brandi, why would you show me how to use a video player? My students have been on YouTube. They know how to push play. They know how to fast forward and rewind, right? Sounds like an easy skill, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason I'm showing you this is, yes, it is an easy skill, and most kids are going to get into this question, and they'll probably breeze through the directions. Hopefully they don't. But they're going to click play, because that's the obvious thing to do. The play button is nice, black and white, big in the middle. Even though the text skill is easy, it's actually what is behind the text skill that is not so easy, which is students have to be able to take notes on what they're watching. Because anytime there is a video, there is an essay, of some sort, either a complete essay or a short answer or extended response question, that they have to bring direct quotes or bring direct information from the video into their written response. So even though taking notes is not a technical skill, it is the kind of the catch of this technical skill. Students are allowed scratch paper, so if you can teach them how to take notes on what they watch. I find that most students they can take notes on what they read, but it's harder for them to take notes on what they're watching because they're not used to having to take notes on what they watch. They just watch it and then they're done with it. So for example, oh, sorry, was there a question? Nope. So for example, like I just said, here's the essay that they have to write. Use evidence from the articles and the video to support your answer. So there's that word, evidence. I will say the nice thing that Park has built, that they've built in, is if you can see these tabs over here underneath the directions on the left-hand side, that's actually the video, the article, and the story, or two articles, whatever it happens to be at that point in time. So they're not going forward, backward throughout the test trying to get back to that video. It's actually right there in a tabbed environment. So that is nice that it saves a little bit of time. I will tell you, students can watch the video as many times as they want, but keep in mind that video is a little over 2 minutes, so the more times they watch it, that's less time they're actually having to take the test. So just putting that out there. Okay. The next skill we're going to look at is type with a text editor, and this is from the Park English Language Arts 9th grade test. And again, you've got to read, in this case, a speech, a petition, and an article, and then you've got to write an essay that is comparing and contrasting the primary argument in each text of whether to drop the atomic bomb or not, which I'm an English teacher, so I'm like, that's a totally cool essay, yeah, but most kids are, you know, not so nerdy like I am. So the point is they've got to type in this text editor. Now, I will say most kids, especially because I think, Angela, you guys are a Google school, is that correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So especially with your kids have definitely been in this environment. It may not look exactly the same, but because they've got the simpler features up here at the top, you know, the cutting, the pasting, the bolding, you know, Google Docs has much less bells and whistles than Microsoft Word. So this is an environment that your kids are going to be used to, as long as you can get them into it and just say it's less bells and whistles. You know, you actually have to worry about less. With most kids, again, it's how fast they can type and how correct they can type, because just like on the OGT, they are graded on spelling and grammar. It doesn't kill their score completely if they can't spell, but you know, that does take off some points for sure. So typos are going to be, you know, considered incorrect spelling. I had a teacher ask me when I did this presentation 2 weeks ago if they're allowed to use a microphone and have the like speaking into the microphone and have that type it out for them. I'm still waiting on an answer from that from the Accessibility and Accommodations Department at ODE. So the first question is, can students that need accommodations use it? And then the next question is, can students who can't type use it, even if they don't have an IEP or a 504. So as soon as I get that answer, I will get it to Angela. That way you guys have that answer as well. So there's type with the text editor, which again, as long as you can type, really isn't that difficult. Excuse me.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
In regards to citing evidence, they're obviously not allowed to copy and paste directly from the text, correct?
Oh, actually, you're one slide ahead of me, sir. No, you're fine. So as you can see on this slide, I have directly copied and pasted the directions into the essay. So here, that's a good question. So you can. The interesting thing is, at least on a Mac, because that's what I have here, I don't have a PC. On a Mac, you have to actually go up to the edit function and click copy and then edit and paste. You can't use control, well, On a Mac, it's Command-C, Command-V. I haven't tried it on a PC just because I don't have readily access to that. But actually, I will tomorrow, so I will try it when I'm in a computer lab tomorrow. So you can do it. The interesting thing is Park and AIR and ODE have not come out with a ruling on it yet. In my opinion, if you can do it, I don't see why you can't. The question right now, though, is if you do decide to copy and paste from the text, do you have to also correctly cite that? And that's something the verdict is still out on that. I have emailed ODE and Park multiple times and have not received an answer. Which, English teachers, and I'm an English teacher, by trade originally, I'm like, but, the English teacher and the librarian in me says that you have to cite it. But a lot of kids, because of EasyBib and other things like that, don't know how to correctly cite. So if they incorrectly cite it, then are they going to get dinged for that? So not trying to open up a can of worms, but that's pretty much what I said in my email. So I email them about once every 2 weeks. So actually, I think it's a well time for me to email them again. But I know that only answers half of your question, so you technically can do it. They just haven't answered back yet whether they want you to or not. So again, that's one of the. Go ahead.
I know. We actually just did a park run through this morning during my morning 20-minute class, and the kids were unable to copy and paste directly from the text using Chromebooks into their response. They could copy and paste parts of their response again within the text box, but they could not actually copy and paste from the passage. And we're spending a lot of time obviously working on citing and using evidence for support, and so that would be a huge time saver.
Right. Did you have any of them go up and try the edit copy, edit paste function?
I can't say I did. I told them to informally do it, but I didn't walk around and watch if they did it.
Right. Oh, no, I absolutely understand. Actually, my husband has a Chromebook, so that is something that tomorrow morning I'll swipe his Chromebook and play around on it and see if I can get it to do that. If I can get it to, well, either way, I'll shoot Angela an email, or if before we all check out of this, if you want to put your email in the chat box, I'll grab your email and more than happily let you know.
Do you know if this might be more of a curriculum question, but do you know if the in-text citation? I know I'm an 8th grade English teacher, and I know that the way the Common Core is written is it's more so that it's cited correctly. It doesn't actually say parenthetical citation or in-text citation. So do you know when they're expected to have evidence if that's going to be a requirement in their response?
They have not put out a date yet of whether I think. Sorry, I'm trying to put my PC hat on for a second. I think they don't know yet. That's what I think, to be honest. I think that ODE has not made a decision yet. Okay. I think that Park has kind of left it ambiguous on purpose so that the Park states couldn't decide. For instance, as I know Ohio's new learning standards are taken from Common Core, slightly edited. So because most of the people who are taking Park are Common Core states, and they have not changed the Common Core, I think that's why Park kind of left it open, because you have states like Ohio who have, slightly twisted them around a little bit. But again, as soon as I get an answer, I promise I will get the information to you. It's something that is always on my mind, which, that's one of the last things I think about before I go to bed. I don't know what that means for me, but So now we're going to take a look at drag and drop, and this is the demo site for the error assessment. There is that link down there at the bottom, but I can also show you once we get to the Pearl tree how to access that information. I will be very honest with you, and I'm going completely live on YouTube saying this. The error demo site is not awesome. If you compare the Park practice site and the error practice site, the Park practice site is incredible. I think it's because, like I said, we signed on very late with AIR, so AIR was like, oh, we need to develop all of this stuff for you, and ODE was like, oh, we need to develop all of this stuff. So there is no perfect AIR site yet. I will say, other than this, the closest thing that you're going to get to a testing environment is the computer-based assessment portal, which I'll also show you later. But for right now, I will at least take you through a couple of the things in the AIR assessment portal. So here we go. So dragging and dropping. So this is in the AIR demo site, you've got 8 different choices of questions, of course, science and social studies. And I don't know if you can see, but there's this little bar, white and gray bar at the top middle that says Trade Center. And that's your drop-down bar, and that's where you choose from your 7 or 8 different questions. So in this question, you actually have to first drag and drop the goods, so coal, gold, and cloth, of where they would most likely be found on a map in 1849. And then you have to add the vehicle, the transportation, that would most likely move those goods to St. Louis, to the Trade Center, in 1849. So you're dragging and dropping. Now, right now, on the demo site, this is as big as the map gets. You cannot make the map any bigger. I am hoping and praying that when the test comes that you can zoom in and zoom out. But right now, what you see on your screen is unfortunately what you get. I will pause real quick. I should have said this earlier. That's my fault. None of the directions actually lend themselves to letting students know what they need to do. For example, this says put the goods, put the vehicle. So, I mean, I hope most kids would understand that you have to come over here to these individual pictures and click on them and drag them and drop them. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not a kid taking this test. I'm an adult taking this test. Park uses match a lot. Match, put, and place. So something that I unfortunately I haven't finished yet, but I'm working on for INFOhio is creating a grid which has all of the action words, so put, place, match, and then that matches it up with the text skill. Unfortunately, I have a project right now that's due for INFOhio that I haven't been able to finish that, so my goal is to hopefully finish it, I'm going to say by February, but at least hopefully it's not too little too late. That might help students at least get, you know, oh, put and place and match means to drag and drop, something like that. So speaking of dragging and dropping, this is the 7th grade ELA Park test, and you're dragging and dropping, so you have to read this passage. You've read a passage from Count of Monte Cristo, and now you've got to read this scene from the play Blessings, and now you have to, it says match the stage directions to their functions in the play. So the idea is that by using the word match, you would know that you have to drag the stage directions, the white boxes, into the grid down below. So there's an example of drag and drop in the park. Oops, there we go, sorry. So let's talk a little bit about highlighting. This is actually one of the text skills. You can highlight up to 3 different colors. Most kids know how to highlight something. If not with colors, most kids know how to highlight a sentence with their mouse, which is already the first step. So you highlight the sentence with your mouse that you want, then you pick the color. And it's an intuitive thing in the park. So if you highlight a section with your mouse, the little box at the top here with the white, yellow, pink, and blue come up automatically. I've noticed with elementary school students and middle school students and even some high school students, they like to play and make things pretty colors like I did because I felt like being a student for a minute. The hard thing with this is every time they are playing around with the colors, minutes are ticking by. And as I'm sure you know, it is precious, precious minutes that they do not have to waste. So something that I've thought of to combat that is to go down your roster of each class period and say, Susie, you're going to be yellow, Brandon, you're going to be blue, you know, Jolene, you're going to be pink, and assign them a color before they even get into that test. Kids will have index cards. Most schools are using index cards.
Hey, Brandi.
Yes, ma'am.
We're getting some feedback on your mic.
I don't know what it is because nothing's changed.
Are you hearing that too? Are you hearing that too, Sean and Kirk?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah. It's like echoing or something. It's like almost like you sound robotic.
Oh, is that any better?
No, it's about the same.
Well, my phones are both on silent and they're put away. Let me try. Is that any better?
Try it now.
Any better?
Yeah. You're
Okay.
back.
All right. That's weird. Okay. Yeah. I turned my computer speakers off, so okay.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Sorry. So I just pre-assign kids a highlighter color. I know that sounds silly, but I think that it will save a lot of time. A lot of schools are giving out index cards with students' logon information and password to get into the test. So if you're, let's say, if you're the 7th grade language arts teacher, you hopefully see most of the 7th grade, if not all. So then, maybe you and the other 7th grade language arts teachers get a hold of those cards and write highlighter yellow or stick a sticker on there that says yellow or something. Because I think that'll save a lot of time. Now, that won't guarantee that they're not going to go in and play with it, which is also why I think it's good to get the kids in and on the environment on their own, because then they can go and play with it and get all of that, nervous energy out. And then they won't have to waste time, hopefully, during the actual test. So that was just a bonus right there. Scroll within a scroll. Scrolling is not that hard. That's not a hard tech skill. Most students have been on a web page and they know, oh, the scroll bar is on the right-hand side. The trick to the park and the air test is that there's a scroll within a scroll. So you've got the scroll on the right-hand side of the web page, and then you've got a scroll bar on the inside of the page too. Now this is an example from one of the social studies questions. It's an economics question from the AIR demo site. And here's the tricky part about the AIR demo site. I don't know if you can see where my red arrow is pointing, but it's pointing at this green and white start button. Now, I've got a scroll within a scroll bar over here on my right-hand side, but there's this gray line that runs down sort of the middle of the page. Now, you cannot scroll down on that page because, as you can see, it's cut off, so there's obviously more down there. You cannot scroll down until you hit Start. That's the trick. So you have to read the directions, and it doesn't say that. It just says use the chart to answer the questions. So it doesn't tell you have to click Start first. So click Start, then you can get to scroll down. So that's the trick with this. I'm hoping with the actual error test that they will have listened to people's feedback on the demo site and realize that people do not like that. I'm crossing my fingers. So if I click Start, that's what's the rest of the chart. So you can scroll down and see all of that. This is from the 5th grade English Language Arts test on the park. So the nice thing is the scroll bar is actually visible, the scroll within a scroll on the ELA test. And if there is a scroll within a scroll on the math test in park, it is also visible too. So AIR is really the only super tricky one. Really, I think the trick to this tech skill is just making students realize for AIR, you're clicking Start first, and then for the park, you've got that gray-black bar that all you have to do is use that to scroll up and down on. So again, a lot of the tech skills are not super difficult, it's just getting them to experience it. As a little bonus right here, if you normally, of course, once you're actually in the test, this is not going to say guest, it's going to say, Susie or whoever. But next to that is your little person, and it has your settings. So students can drop this menu down, and you've got a couple options I want to show you right here. You've got the magnifier, which is basically a magnifying glass. The unfortunate part is it's about as big as a 50-cent piece, and that's not very big. So honestly, I don't really show the magnifier all that much because I think it's not that great. But the next option, which is Show Hide Line Reader, this option came out of the pilot schools. Angela, were you guys a pilot school?
We were, yes.
Okay, sweet. So you guys might have helped with this. So this did not exist for you guys, I don't believe, and a lot of students came back and said, we can't read all of that text online. That's way too much. Because even if you think about it, if you're reading on an e-reader, an iPad or a Nook or a Kindle, it still limits your page. You don't have this gigantic screen of information in front of you. So if you click on the Show Hide Line Reader, you get this. This is exactly what pops up. Can't change the color, which I love that you can't change the color because that gives kids less options to mess around. But then you can make it one line or you can make it by paragraph or whatever you want, and it just helps kids focus in on what they're reading, which I think is very helpful. Okay, so it sounds like Sean's an ELA teacher. Is the other person with us a math teacher by chance?
No. Kirk, are you guidance counselor? I'm trying to think of what you do at Rushwood, right? I see him. I just can't hear him.
Maybe you just decided to listen today.
That could be.
If you type something,
yeah, you can type. Yeah, you can type. He's at one of our elementary buildings, though.
Okay.
Yeah, he is a test coordinator, Brandi.
Oh, very cool.
School
very
counselor, cool. Test coordinator, and he's at the building is a K through 4.
Okay, great. Well, I don't know why you're on here then, because you're probably like, yeah, lady, I know this already. But since this is being recorded, we'll talk math a little bit. I will be honest, math is not my greatest subject, so if I say something completely off, please forgive me. But we're going to look real quick at the equation editor and then the protractor. So this is the equation editor. I will go ahead and preface this by they just recently changed what the equation editor looks like, but I like to show what it looked like originally because what it looks like now isn't much better, to be honest. So this is what the equation editor looks like. You actually have multiple text skills happening here. So if you look at the big white box in the middle, that looks just like your text editor, which it is. You can type directly into that box whatever you want. Then you add another text skill, which is you've got your scroll within a scroll here with your lovely gray slide bar. And then the other text skill is that you've got to push on numbers or arithmetic and units or exponents or relations, and then it comes up with this big drop-down menu like over here with geometry or over here with numbers, and that's where you get all of your extra functions. So all the functions that you would have on a graphing calculator, including Greek, you have here. The interesting thing is on the practice test, this is the Algebra 2 practice test where you might need all of these functions. But on the, for instance, elementary math practice test, you still have every single one of these functions. So you still have Greek on a 4th grade math test. I do not know why Park decided to do that other than for ease of their computer programming. But that's another reason why I say get kids into the environment, because then you can say you do not need to look at, you know, A, B, C, or D. You don't need to look at Greek. You don't need to look at statistics or trigonometry. Don't even worry about that. You need to look at numbers and, you know, whatever else you do in 4th grade math. Sorry, I can't remember back that far. But so there's that. Now, it has changed a little bit. Now instead of this slide bar, things actually show up at the bottom. So you start typing into the little box, and then it brings up all of your drop-down menus underneath the Type with Text Editor box. So I actually think that's a little more confusing, but that's just me. I'm not a math person, so there's that. And then we're going to look at the use a protractor. So you've got, this is the 4th grade mathematics test. I'm not sure if they use protractors in 4th grade, but like I said, I can't remember that far back. But right now you've got, and under the 4th grade test, you've got a couple different options. You've got your mouse, you've got this itty-bitty ruler at the top, and this itty-bitty protractor. And then eventually, as the practice test developed, you actually have another option, which is a calculator option. So you click on whatever option you want, and I clicked on protractor and then took a screenshot, and this is exactly where the protractor comes up, right there. But now, you can move it around. You just click on it and drag it all over the place. So there's your dragging and dropping skill. So even though by looking I can tell which angle is a 65-degree angle because I just know that, I don't need to measure it, I'm going to go ahead and measure it. So I drug it, dropped it right where it needs to go, and now you grab the gray circles and you can swing it around however you need to measure your angle. So it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, this is something else I've also seen kids get into and play with because they're like, wee, let's make a giant circle with it and see how fast it can spin. I've even seen high schoolers do that. So again, get them into it, let them play as much as they want. That way they can get all of that, anxiousness and energy out before, the timer starts clicking in February. Okay, so I promised you showing you how INFOhio can help. So we're going to take a few minutes to look at the Pearl tree that I created. So the first thing you're going to do is go to INFOhio.org, which is www.infohio.org. Just as a reminder, again, only one O in the middle. From here, you will scroll down to the bottom of our homepage, and there is this lovely maroon bar at the bottom. And under the Educator section, the first link is called Curriculum Toolbox. And if you click on Curriculum Toolbox, it will bring up 16 different curriculum toolboxes that are for K through 12. I will go ahead and bring up that there is actually a lot, since it sounds like Sean's middle school. There's a lot for middle school teachers in here. That's actually where we started, was middle school. And then we actually added a bunch of elementary school resources on top of that as well. So we've got a pretty good balance for everything and everyone. But the curriculum toolbox we're going to look at is actually the digital literacy curriculum toolbox. They are alphabetical, so in this screenshot it just happens to be the one at the bottom of the page. So when you click on that digital literacy link, it takes you to a Scoop It, which again is just another site to digitally curate information. And I have been promised that the first link on the digital literacy Scoop It will always be the INFOhio's Tech Skills for Online Testing. So you can click right in that box, which looks like that, and it'll take you to this, which is the Pearl tree. Excuse me. So let's see, how am I good on? I'm doing okay on time, right, Angela?
Yes, you are. You have about 20 more minutes.
Fabulous, man. Okay, good. I've never been this good on time. So we're going to take a look at those same 6 tech skills, and then we're going to take a look at some of the things that I've added more recently. So again, this looks like a variation of that flyer that I showed you that I'll also make sure Angela gets once we're off of here today. First one we're going to take a look at is going back to using a video player. So what this does is you click on the actual tech skill and it opens up a different environment. It opens up the box, if you will. And in each box, there is just, the first box is a blurb about here's what the tech skill is, which, as adults, we're fairly techie people, so if you don't need to read that box, don't worry about it. Like most of us know what dragging and dropping is, so don't worry about that. The next boxes are always going to be the resources. If there is an INFOhio resource that will help, it is always going to be the first one. So, for example, the second box here is directions of how to use the digital video collection, and then the second box will actually, if you click it, it will take you to the video collection. Then you've got YouTube and TeacherTube. Whoops, I went too far, sorry. And then you've got a little information which I already gave you about how the fact that, using a video player is not the hard part, it's the taking the notes. So we're going to look at, I just opened up a box. Once you click on the box, this is what you see. And as just as a warning, you can do 2 things. You can either use the forward or backward arrows to go through the rest of the boxes, or if you want a box that's several boxes later, you just come up to this white and gray X and click out of it. And once you click out of it, you get back to the normal stuff. So there's the taking notes information, and then you've also got this other piece, which is called classroom integration. And something that I've been working on, it's always a work in progress for me, are ideas of how to integrate these tech skills into your everyday classroom. I went to school at Ohio University in Athens, and that area is one of the poorest areas in the state of Ohio. So because of that fortunate experience, because I did have very great experience down there, and then I've also worked for a school in Westerville City Schools. I've worked for schools running the gambit of money. So I realized because of that experience, you know, some classrooms have one computer, one projector, one projection screen, if that. Some classrooms have, you know, some schools, like my husband's high school, is one-to-one with iPads. So they're very fortunate. And then you've got the gambit of everything in between. So the idea of these classroom integrations boxes is I'm trying to think of how can a teacher in Meigs County, Ohio, teach these skills when she's got one computer in her room and the computer lab is always signed out. To how can you teach this, you know, when you've got Chromebooks for everyone, that type of thing. So it's always a work in progress. You're welcome to take the ideas and use them as your own, tweak them whatever you want to do. You're also welcome to say, wow, that's a terrible idea, and send me an email and tell me that it's a terrible idea. I'm way okay with that. My feelings do not get hurt easily. So we're going to take a look real quick at the digital video collection. So again, I just clicked on that box, digital video collection, and then I'm going to click anywhere inside of that box, and it'll actually take me to the website. Has anyone used the digital video collection before through INFOhio?
I just told Sean about it today in an email.
Okay, well, my students just started playing around with it today.
Yeah. Good
Yeehaw!
timing. Good timing.
Brownie points for you guys. Absolutely. Well, if there are any science teachers listening to this, I will tell those science teachers that we have every single Bill Nye the Science Guy episode, I think, available. The nice thing about I'm just going to call it the DVC for short, is that any video, it's done by segments. It gives you the time limit. You can search by anything and everything you want, grade level, keywords, whatever you want. And then a lot of our videos have teacher resource guides. So essentially, here are before viewing, after viewing, and during viewing questions. So ta-da, there's your lesson plan for you. It's kind of nice. All right, type with the text editor. Like you guys mentioned, you're a Google Apps school, so you guys are familiar with this environment. But it's, like I said, it's the same format. The first box is here's what we're doing, here's what I'm explaining, the text skill. The second and third box, if there's an INFOhio resource, here's how to use it, here's the resource. And then everything after that is the free resource. Well, INFOhio is free too. The other resources other than INFOhio, and then the last box is the classroom integration ideas. So for this one, we do have something that's INFOhio related that is through Learning Express Library, which if you haven't used, I love it. One of the easiest ways to get a text editor environment in Learning Express Library is actually to go to the College Prep Center, and you click on Prepare for your ACT test. You click on the writing practice test because, of course, that's where you're going to get your most writing experience. You click Launch, click the Start the Test button, and there's your Type with Text editor. Now, it does not have all the functions like bold, underline, and bullet or anything like that, but it gets kids used to typing in this box. And the interesting thing about typing in the box is that eventually you will have typed so much that you're going to have to scroll up and down within the box to see what you're typing. So, like, it'll work its way down with you. But if you want to reference something you typed back in paragraph 1, you've got to now scroll all the way back up to get to paragraph 1. So that's the nice thing about this environment, is it replicates that from the park. And then you've got a resource from Read, Write, Think through NCTE. That's the printing press. Again, the classroom integration ideas. And then if I go back, sorry, oops, I went back too many. There we go. You can see that there's a box that says keyboarding and mouse skills. So that's where I went. I have to get back to that, sorry. Oops, there we go. So as we mentioned, you know, a lot of schools don't have keyboarding classes anymore. So this is an area where you can go to have your students practice keyboarding. I will say a lot of it is elementary based, especially once you get into this box that says keyboarding games. But there are a few here that are middle school and high school related. I especially like the learning to type middle school and high school game right here, or program right here, and then this mouse program teaches kids how to left click, right click, double click, and then move their mouse around the screen to hit certain objects. So that's kind of nice. Dragging and dropping. So remember, this is the one where we had to, on the air test, we had to drag the goods to the correct part of the U.S. and then drag the transportation of how you would get it to St. Louis on top of that. So in drag and drop, we've got a couple of resources that are really great. The INFOhio resources are INFOhio's BookFlix elementary school, and then INFOhio's Discovery Portal, which is a wealth of information. And then we've got all of these other different games. I will say, even though BookFlix is through K through 5, if you have, Sean, if you have some lower readers, like if you are a 6th grade teacher, or if you know the 6th grade language arts teachers, if you've got some lower readers, they would be fine on this. And it's not super babyish on the BookFlix, just so you know. But in BookFlix, you can practice your dragging and dropping skills. Oh, that's right. There we go. We're going to take a look at it real quick. Sorry. I forgot about that. So go to BookFlix. You're hitting, you can select any area. I just clicked on Earth and Sky. I'm choosing rain because when I made this presentation, it was very rainy. You click on Go. The idea would be you would read or watch the stories first. With BookFlix, the fiction title is animated, so it's like the kids are watching a movie instead of reading a book, which they like a lot. The nonfiction title, though, is like reading a book, flipping through the pages. But for the actual practice of drag and drop, you're going to the puzzlers section, and you're clicking on which came first, and now you're dragging and dropping the box to the box. The nice thing is now the students have read at least one of the 2 books, and now they are practicing their tech skill, and they're now also practicing sequencing and memory, which is great. All right, scroll within a scroll. Again, scrolling's not that hard, but paying attention to the extra part, the extra scroll. So for this, INFOhio has our Student Research Center for middle school and high school, BookFlix again for elementary, and Early World of Learning for elementary. The nice thing is with the Student Research Center, once you actually get into an article, and you can search for any article that you want in there, any topic, it is a scroll within a scroll environment. I believe this one shows Early World of Learning, yes. So Early World of Learning, you're going to come up here, click on the orange read, click on Trex Travel. Well, you can click on any of them. I'm choosing click on Trex Travels, and then here is my scroll within a scroll, that yellow bar. And the thing I like about this is even if you wanted to show your middle schoolers this, not that they have to read anything from it, but just for them to be like, oh, there's the scroll within a scroll, it's nice because it's a standout color, so it teaches them to start looking for it. All right, I'm actually going to skip past the equation editor so that we have a little more time to talk about some other things. But while I'm here, I will say that the Park Equation Editor Help Guide is in here. And then the Use the Protractor. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about. There's a section called Sample Assessments in here. And it actually has way more than this now, but anything and everything that I have found that gives you a look at the end of year or PBAs or AIR or PARC is under sample assessments. So as I was mentioning earlier, the AIR demo site, it's right here. Like I said, it's not that great, but if you want an equal environment of what they'll experience, science and social studies, you're going to come to this box, the Ohio Computer-Based Assessments Practice Test, and that's an equal type of environment that they'll experience. And of course, you've got all the PARC tests up here as well. Now, if you click on this Create Your Own Assessments box, it's going to open this. A lot of schools right now are looking into creating, doing all of their exams or of their quarterly assessments on the online environment. So I highly recommend this box called EdSite. Have you guys heard of EdSite before?
Yes. I've shared it with a couple teachers, and I know a couple buildings are using it. Are you using it, Sean?
The math department, the middle school is using it a lot. English department, we're like just kind of getting into it, but we plan to use it the next month or so in preparation for the park.
Oh, fabulous! Fabulous! you guys are on top of things, man.
I don't know too much. I know that math, like that, they'll make a lot of their own assessments on them, as well as use some others. But But I also know that it is somewhat public in the sense that people could make some faulty assessments. So I know there's some caution with that as well.
Yes. The downside to the internet, I guess. The nice thing I do like about it is if you find someone who knows what they're doing and who is good at it, you can take their test if they've given permission, which is great. They're also working on bettering the search by standard. It's not perfect, but they're working on bettering that system, which is nice. You might want to tell your math and science teachers about 50 sneakers. It's not near as extensive or awesome as EdSite, but 50 sneakers will allow you to add in simulations, and that's what they're going to experience are the simulations. So that's one that I really like. Accessibility and accommodations. I'm assuming that we have all worked with students on IEPs, so this is a big one. So like I mentioned, I'm part of that ODE group, email group, and whatever they send me gets put directly on this Pearl tree, which is kind of nice because it's information that a lot of people don't have access to yet. The first two resources here, one's a live binder and then one's just a doc with a list of resources. Those are directly from that group. ODE actually put together the first box there, which is the live binder. And then the other thing that's nice to know about is the park accessibility features and accommodations manual. I will be honest, I have not read through it. It's hundreds and hundreds of pages long. But a lot of the answers that a lot of the questions people have asked me, I found the answers here. For example, I don't know if your school knows this or not. I think most do at this point, but for every student that takes the test online, you need a pair of headphones. Just because of those videos playing. You don't want, 50 videos playing in a room and having kids, lose concentration. So, but when all of this came out, no one really realized there was going to be audio and videos. So they're like, why do we need headphones? So, just a little something. Technical requirements. So as I mentioned earlier, there are the two technical requirements links, which are, like I mentioned, also they're very extensive, and if you don't necessarily need to know them, don't worry about it. But what I will point out right here is the last box. What I've done is, as I've added information and URLs to the Pearl tree, I've added them to this Google Doc. So when I started all of this, a lot of people had a lot of these websites blocked, and because it was a pain to go to each box and then grab the link from each box and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I went ahead and just created this whitelist. So if something happens to be blocked at one of your schools, you might be able to go to your tech coordinator and say, hey, this is blocked. I really want to use it for XYZ. Here's the URL. So it's just a nice way for them to be able to unblock stuff if they're willing to do that. All right, so now I'm going to take it off of screen mode. There we go. And you guys get to see my lovely shining face again. Yeehaw. Questions, comments, concerns, things that I can answer for you guys.
I don't have any technical questions at this point. There's a couple of curriculum things that are still up in the air that we're kind of sorting through with the park, obviously, but technical-wise, we feel pretty good. We've done a few simulations with videos. We did like a simulation task back in November where the kids essentially read a chapter from a book, read an article, and watched a video. They had to pull from all three into their response.
Good. That's great. That's
so we're kind of trying to simulate it. Right now we just started a research paper, which is why I was asking Angela for some videos because we're going to try to incorporate that as one of their sources for their research paper. So.
But then that means they're watching it and they're taking notes on it. So that's excellent.
Right. As far as the video, going back to the first point you made about watching and taking notes, that was kind of why I had the question about the citing as well. I'm assuming they're okay to paraphrase, because that would make that much easier than having to replay 10 times to find word for word.
Right. I will say, as far as sorry, I didn't make that connection. That's my fault. As far as the video goes, they have not come out and said you have to directly cite the video. The idea is they just want to use the word evidence. I mean, they use the word evidence in the directions. So, like you said, paraphrasing, that would be sufficient. Again, once I find out about direct citations from the text, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Crossing my fingers.
Well, I mean, honestly, that might be something they don't know. So I think that
Right.
a lot of those things are going to just have to work themselves out over time. So.
Right. And then do you have, is Kirk the testing coordinator for the entire district?
No, he is just for the Rushwood Elementary building, the K through 4
Oh, okay.
building.
Okay. I saw them go, no, panic. You mean you don't want that job? That would be so much fun.
No, we have, I think, one for every building right now.
Oh, that's good. That you guys are very, very lucky. Most districts have one person, and usually it's sometimes also their tech person, which is, I'm like, really? That's like, when do they sleep? But I will say that most people have come out with, it depends on who's in charge. Like, for instance, my husband is in charge, since he's the principal, of making the testing schedule. But most people have come out with the testing schedule already. I don't know, have your buildings been able to do that? Have they given you, like, when you're taking what test and on what consecutive days? And yeah, Kirk's nodding.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
okay, good.
they have. And actually, we just, here's something interesting. We will be using, at the high school, we're going to be testing only on the desktops. We have we have 4 computer labs, and we have figured out a way to test all the students that we need to test in 7 school days. So in the labs, our concern, and I don't know if you've heard this from other districts, is the mice. The Chromebooks using the trackpad is not the best, especially for scrolling and the dragging and the dropping and all that stuff. So to provide mice for every Chromebook was going to be an unexpected expense. So we are at the high school just going to the desktops to test because we're kind of concerned about the mice issue. I don't know. Have you heard that from other districts?
Right. To be honest, a lot of districts are not as fortunate as you guys. Right now, I've got a lot of districts panicking because they don't have enough headphones for every student. They don't have enough headphones for 30 students to take the test at one point in time. I've got a lot of districts panicking because they made the choice to do the iPads and they don't have the external keyboards. I mean, I think each district is panicking about its own separate tech issue. I've heard another school up at, it's not Lakewood, but it's another school in West Ohio, and they're panicking about the mice issue because they have Chromebooks. But they're making the choice, I believe, to do Chromebooks and just telling the kids. I mean, they're trying to get the kids to figure it out. But I think they're one-to-one with Chromebooks. So the nice thing is, because if they truly are one-to-one with them, the kids really do know how to use the trackpad, which is nice.
Yeah, we're at the middle school, or more the opposite end. I think we're only doing the Chromebooks. My understanding, the desktops are kind of overflow. And the problem with the trackpad, a lot of the kids do know how to use it. The issue is some are better than others. The trackpads are, some are better than others. So some, I mean, don't click at all. You gotta like really push it down. And other ones have a crisp click. So that's one issue we've had. I think our solution most recently was the principal was going to get a box of mice, like 30 per team, and just have it as an option.
Yeah.
But not necessarily require it or even really vocalize that we have them unless kids ask about it. Headphones has been an ongoing battle because it's technically it's part of their supply list.
Right.
A lot of them forget them and whatnot. So I think we as a team, each team in our building, we're going to buy a set of headphones and have those for a similar purpose as a backup.
Right. Well, I think I think you guys are going about it in a great way, especially with the mice. And most kids by now know whether their Chromebook trackpad works perfectly or not. So then that's something that if your team makes the choice to advertise it, you can have those kids come to you and say, hey, I know I'm going to need one. To be honest, to help reduce anxiety on that day, I might go ahead and identify those kids already. and assign. You know, you get mouse number 1, you get mouse number 38, whatever. I don't know how your kids are in your district, but the districts in Licking County, which is where I am, and Perry County, which is where my husband is, they're freaking out. Mostly their kids. Like, the teachers are freaking out, and then you guys are trying so hard not to let that spill over to the kids, but the kids are seeing it. The kids are seeing it not just from you, but they're seeing it from their parents. They're seeing it. I mean, you know, our kids are smart, especially when it comes to social media and, you know, news and everything. But I think that if we can get rid of some of that test anxiety, so even, you know, saying, okay, Bobby, I know your, you know, trackpad doesn't work, we're going to have you a mouse for that day. Don't worry, I got you covered. Or, you know, Angela, you don't have headphones for today, you know, for the test. I know you know Angela hasn't brought her headphones ever to school, you know, so here you go. We're going to give you this. That also takes stress off of you guys, too, because then you're not running around like a crazy person that day. Are your schools...
Brandi, your headphones are doing that thing again. They're making... Or the speaker is.
Everything is turned off. Every electronic device around me is green. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe there's like some type of interference going on. I don't know.
I don't know. My cat's laying here on the floor. That's about all I got.
It's weird because you sound like a robot.
I've been accused of worse things, I guess. But, I mean, anything else you guys need, just let me know. If there's something that you think of after this, let me know. I don't just do the tech side. I can answer a lot of the curriculum questions, too, if you have them. Again, nobody but INFOhio pays me. If I worked for one of the organizations, I would be rich, but, you know.
I have one additional question.
Yeah.
And this could be a question for Angela as well. I'm actually new at using some of the research portal for a research paper. And one thing I was just started playing around with about halfway through the day today is I noticed there's a highlight tool within, we're mainly using points of view and opposing viewpoints. That's what Angela recommended, which is working really well so far today. But I noticed there's a highlight and annotation tool within some of those documents. Like if I open a newspaper, I can highlight and mark. And I'd like for that to kind of be the way for kids to mark the text, since that's kind of what they're going to be doing with the park and what we've been practicing on paper and highlighter most of the year. But I noticed that since they don't really have a login that is unique to them, it won't save their markings.
They can.
Okay.
So you're using the INFOhio Points of View Reference Center, right? That's
yes.
What you're, okay, just making sure. If you go up to the top right-hand corner, there's a place that says Login.
Okay.
If you click Login, there's a way for them to create an account. And if you create an account, you can use that. It's an EBSCO resource, Points of View Reference Center is, and you can use that same account across all EBSCO resources.
Okay.
So if you need...
I noticed there's like a save to my file or save to my folder.
Yep.
So will that keep track of any...
Yep, and it does it for years. My colleague from INFOhio, Melissa, created folders 12 years ago, and the resources are still there 12 years later.
Wow.
Now there's obviously no way to, if they're going outside of INFOhio to do other research, to like transport or export those other findings into those folders?
No, the best tool that I have for that would be Digo. Are you familiar with Digo?
I don't know. I haven't used that one yet. I was playing around with Evernote and some Google features and.
I like Digo because you can, especially if you guys have Chromebooks, it's an add-on for Chromebooks, and you can actually be in the article. You click the Digo add-on, and it'll let you highlight, annotate within that text, that article, that PDF, that online anything, and it'll also save it to your Digo account too. So it basically does exactly what Points of View does, just not within INFOhio land.
Would I be able to use the INFOhio resources and still use Digo with those?
I think so. I've never tried it, but I want to say yes.
Okay.
It makes sense.
And I mean, and if you're as long as if they're working on it at school, you know that it won't be prompted for login. They won't be prompted. It will take them right to the article.
Okay. That's good.
Right.
That was kind of one of the when I was playing with Evernote. One of the issues I ran into is if they wanted to access it from home and they didn't have the Evernote app. It was kind of like, well, what are they going to do now? So I went the Google route and just had them essentially copy and paste from the articles into like a document, but then, you know, Google gets glitchy with copy and paste and font, and I'd rather have like I basically want them to do the same thing as printing an article and highlight it, but not actually print it. You know, like a digital electronic version of that. So I'll play around with that, Diga.
Right.
How do you
Evernote does have an online site. It's not near as, I mean, granted, you have to, you know, pull things into your notes, so it's not automatic. But they do have that if you want to use that. I use a combination of everything. I've got information in thousands of different places, which is probably terrible. But because I'm a tech person and that's what I like to do for fun, I figure, you know, I might as well use everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have them creating accounts like an EBSCO and that type of thing, I would have them set, you know, maybe their Google login, their last name, first initial, year of graduation, maybe as their username. That way you can help troubleshoot if they can't find it or something like that.
Yes. Okay. Yep. And in our since the districts that I used to work for, it was prior to Google Education. We just we had them use their computer logons for the same thing. If you're interested, we actually, INFOhio has a YouTube channel, and I just posted an instructional screencast on how to use Points of View Reference Center, and then also how to create an account using EBSCO. So those are two screencasts there. The Points of View Reference Center is a little longer. It's hitting about 5 minutes, but the how to create an account is about around 2.
Okay.
So that's something, even if, like, you guys have the dreaded snow days, you could post that link and say, hey, this is what your assignment is. Go create an account on EBSCO or something like that, and then they can follow it. So that's my other thing.
Great, thank you.
All right, good. Yeah. Okay, Brandi, I'm going to have you come back and do some more sessions with us.
Okay, sounds good.
You are awesome.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you.
Okay, so Sean, do you have any more questions?
That's it.
All right,
Brandi, appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I'm typing my email address in the chat, and then I will get links and PDF stuff to Angela. I can't guarantee tonight, but I will guarantee by tomorrow morning.
Perfect. And what I'll do is I'll forward those on to you, Sean, and also to Kirk, who had to leave. So I'll forward those on via an email, and then also I'll post them on the Weebly. For the Know How Nordonia. So if other people or other teachers want to access anything, you can let them know it's on the link to the Nordonia PD Weebly.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Right. Great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. All right, take care, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching.